The Children's Bible. Selections from the Old and New Testament translated and arranged by Henry A. Sherman and Charles Forrest Kent. Jesus is crucified by his enemies. The soldiers led Jesus to the courtyard of the governor's palace and called together the whole company. Then they clothed him in a purple robe, and making a crown of thorns, they put it on his head and began to salute him. "Hail, King of the Jews!" They struck him on the head with a reed and spat on him, and on bended knee paid homage to him. After they had made sport of him, they stripped off the purple robe and put on his own clothes and led him out to be crucified. They forced a man named Simon of Cyrene, who was coming in from the country, to carry his cross. So they brought Jesus to the place called Golgotha, which means the place of the skull, and they offered him wine mixed with myrrh, but he would not take it. Then they crucified him and divided his clothes among them, drawing lots to decide what each should take. It was 9 a.m. when they crucified him. The inscription over his head stating the charges against him read, "King of the Jews." With him they crucified 2 robbers, one on his right and one on his left. And those who passed by scoffed at him, shaking their heads in derision and saying, "Ha, you who were to destroy the temple and rebuild it in 3 days, save yourself and come down from the cross." In the same way the high priests and the scribes mocked him among themselves and said, "He saved others, but he cannot save himself. Let the Christ, the King of Israel, now come down from the cross, that we may see and believe." But Jesus said, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." One of the criminals who was crucified also scoffed at him, saying, "Are you not the Christ? Save yourself and us." But the other said in rebuke, "Have you no fear of God? Even though you are being put to death, we are suffering justly, receiving what we deserve for our crimes, but he has done no wrong." Then he said to Jesus, "Jesus, remember me when you enter your kingdom." Jesus said to him, "This day you will be with me in paradise." Now beside the cross of Jesus stood his mother. Seeing her and the disciple whom he loved standing near, Jesus said to her, "Woman, he is your son." And to the disciple he said, "She is your mother." And from that hour the disciple took her into his own home. Darkness covered the whole land from noon until 3 o'clock in the afternoon. At that hour Jesus cried aloud, "Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani," which means, my God, why hast thou forsaken me?" When they heard it, some who stood by said, "He's calling for Elijah." And a man ran, and soaking a sponge in vinegar, put it on the end of a reed, and was about to give it to him to drink, when the others said, "Stop, let us see if Elijah will come to take him down." But Jesus uttered a loud cry and gave up his life, and the curtain of the temple was torn in two from the top to the bottom. When the Roman captain who stood facing him saw in what way he had died, he said, "Surely this man was a son of God." Looking on from a distance were some women also, among them Mary of Magdala, Mary the mother of James the younger, and of Joses and Salome, who had followed him and waited on him when he was in Galilee, and many other women who had come up with him to Jerusalem. Because it was now evening of the day before the Sabbath, Joseph of Arimathea, an honorable member of the Jewish National Council, who was himself looking for the coming of the kingdom of God, went to Pilate and had the courage to ask him for the body of Jesus. Pilate, surprised that he was dead, called the captain and asked whether Jesus was already dead, and when he learned this from the captain, he gave the body to Joseph. After Joseph had taken Jesus from the cross, he wrapped him in a linen sheet which he had brought, and laid him in a tomb cut out of rock. And he rolled a stone against the door of the tomb. And Mary of Magdala and Mary the mother of Joses watched to see where Jesus was laid.